Sigvard Bernadotte's life represents a profound intersection of royal heritage and personal ambition, where traditional expectations clashed with individual choices. Born into the Swedish monarchy, he navigated a path that diverged from the throne toward a career in industrial design, marked by significant personal sacrifices and professional achievements. His story encompasses themes of love leading to exile from royalty, innovative contributions to design that influenced everyday aesthetics, and a persistent struggle for recognition of his identity. This narrative highlights the tensions between duty and desire, illustrating how one man's decisions reshaped his legacy and contributed to broader discussions on monarchy and modernity. From prince to designer, how Sigvard's youth shaped his path, 1907 to 1934, Sigvard Oscar Fredrik Bernadotte was born on June 7, 1907 at Drottningholm Palace, a historic residence located just outside Stockholm, Sweden. This palace, with its Baroque architecture and expansive gardens, served as the backdrop for his early years, symbolizing the enduring legacy of the Swedish monarchy. As the second son of Crown Prince Gustav Adolf, who would ascend the throne as King Gustav VI Adolf in 1950, and Princess Margaret of Connaught, Sigvard entered a family deeply rooted in European royalty. Princess Margaret, born in 1882 as the daughter of Prince Arthur, Duke of Connaught, and granddaughter of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom, brought a layer of British sophistication to the Swedish court. Her influence extended beyond mere etiquette. She instilled in her children a sense of cultural refinement, drawing from her own upbringing in the Victorian era, which emphasized discipline, education, and a connection to the arts. Meanwhile, Crown Prince Gustav Adolf was known for his intellectual depth, particularly his passion for archaeology, which involved excavations and scholarly publications that highlighted ancient civilizations. This paternal interest created a home environment where intellectual curiosity was encouraged alongside the rigid protocols of royal life. Sweden, in the early 1900s, was undergoing significant transformations that would subtly mold Sigvard's perspectives. The country had maintained neutrality during World War I, which ended in 1918, allowing it to avoid the direct devastation faced by many European nations, but not the economic and social ripples. Post-war Europe was marked by the collapse of empires, such as the Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman, and the redrawing of borders, fostering an atmosphere of uncertainty and innovation. In Sweden, the shift from an agrarian society to one embracing industrialization was evident in the growth of factories, railways, and urban centers like Stockholm. This period also saw the rise of modernist movements in art and design, influenced by figures like Walter Gropius and the Bauhaus School in Germany, which promoted functionalism and simplicity, principles that would later resonate in Sigvard's work. Within the royal family, these external changes intersected with internal expectations, formal dinners, state ceremonies, and the unspoken mandate that marriages must preserve dynastic alliances. For Sigvard, born into this blend of tradition and transition, the palace represented both security and constraint, fostering an early awareness of the tensions between inherited duty and personal exploration. As the second son in a line of succession, Sigvard benefited from a position that spared him the intense scrutiny reserved for his older brother, Gustav Adolf, born in 1906 and destined to be the primary heir. This dynamic within the family allowed Sigvard a degree of latitude uncommon for royals of his era. While his brother was prepared for future kingship through rigorous training in governance and diplomacy, Sigvard could delve into interests that aligned more with his innate inclinations toward creativity and aesthetics. His childhood was spent in the expansive grounds of Drottningholm, where he likely observed the interplay of light on the palace's facades and the natural landscapes, elements that would inform his later design sensibilities. The family's emphasis on education, influenced by both parents' scholarly backgrounds, encouraged Sigvard to pursue knowledge beyond the superficial. This relative freedom did not mean absence of pressure. The Bernadotte dynasty, established in 1818 by Jean-Baptiste Bernadotte, a French marshal who became King Charles XIV, John, carried a legacy of adaptation, having originated from non-royal roots, which perhaps subtly encouraged Sigvard's own path of divergence. Sigvard's formal education began at Lundsberg's boarding school, situated in the rural Värmland province of Sweden. This institution, founded in 1896 and modeled after British public schools like Eton, provided a structured yet nurturing environment for young aristocrats. Enrolled during his teenage years, Sigvard thrived in this setting, where the curriculum balanced academics with outdoor activities and character development. Unlike many peers, who focused on equestrian sports, military drills, or hunting, traditional pursuits for nobility, Sigvard distinguished himself through a profound dedication to intellectual endeavors. He immersed himself in studies that sharpened his analytical skills, fostering a discipline that would prove essential in his future career. Graduating in 1926 at the age of 19, Sigvard emerged with a strong academic foundation and a reputation for thoughtful engagement, setting him apart from the more conventional paths taken by other royals. This period marked the beginning of his conscious shift away from the expected aristocratic lifestyle, as he began to prioritize personal development over societal norms. Following his secondary education, Sigvard pursued higher studies at Uppsala University, one of Sweden's oldest and most prestigious institutions, founded in 1477. Enrolling around 1926 or shortly thereafter, he chose to major in art history and political science, disciplines that perfectly aligned with his emerging interests. Art history allowed him to explore the evolution of visual expression, from Renaissance masters to contemporary Scandinavian artists, nurturing his appreciation for form, color, and composition. Political science, on the other hand, provided insights into governance, international relations, and societal structures, perhaps influenced by his father's scholarly pursuits and the family's role in Swedish politics. These subjects not only fed his creative soul, but also equipped him with a critical mindset, enabling him to analyze the interplay between culture and power. By 1929, at the age of 22, Sigvard achieved a groundbreaking accomplishment. He became the first member of the House of Bernadotte to obtain an academic degree. This milestone was not merely a personal triumph, but a subtle challenge to the dynasty's traditions, which had historically valued practical experience and royal duties over formal higher education. It underscored his independent spirit, demonstrating a commitment to self-improvement that transcended the privileges of his birth. In the same year as his university graduation, 1929, Sigvard showcased his budding talent in design through a notable project, the creation of a stained glass window for a church in Lundsberg, the area associated with his former school. This endeavor involved intricate work with colored glass, requiring precision in cutting, leading, and assembly to capture light in dynamic patterns. The window's design likely incorporated motifs inspired by Swedish folklore or natural elements, revealing Sigvard's ability to blend innovation with tradition. By manipulating light and form, he He created pieces that were not only visually striking, but also functionally integrated into architectural spaces, hinting at the practical aesthetic that would characterize his later industrial designs. This project served as an early indicator of his career trajectory, where beauty and utility would coexist seamlessly. Prior to this, in 1928, Sigvard received one of his first public honors, the Jubilee Medal commemorating the 70th birthday of King Gustav V, his grandfather. This award, bestowed upon members of the royal family and select dignitaries, featured a silver medallion with the king's portrait, symbolizing loyalty and continuity within the monarchy. For Sigvard, it affirmed his status as a prince while he quietly pursued paths outside the royal mainstream, creating a poignant contrast between external recognition and internal aspirations. Building on his academic achievements, Sigvard advanced his artistic training in 1930 by enrolling at Konstfack, Stockholm's premier school of arts, crafts, and design. Founded in 1844, the institution emphasized applied arts, and Sigvard studied under Professor Ole Hjortsberg, a renowned painter and designer known for his work in book illustrations and ecclesiastical art. Hjortsberg's teaching style focused on meticulous craftsmanship with an insistence on precise lines and balanced compositions that avoided ornamentation for its own sake. This mentorship profoundly shaped Sigvard's approach, instilling a lifelong preference for clean, functional designs that prioritized usability without sacrificing elegance. Under Hjortsberg's guidance, Sigvard honed skills in drawing, modeling, and conceptualizing objects, laying the groundwork for his transition from fine arts to industrial applications. During this phase at Konstfack, Sigvard also explored the burgeoning world of cinema, contributing to the art department of the 1930 Swedish film For Her Sake, directed by Gustav Melander, working under the simple name Sigvard to downplay his royal identity. Working under the simple name Sigvard to downplay his royal identity, he handled tasks such as set decoration and prop design, immersing himself in the collaborative process of filmmaking. This experience exposed him to the demands of visual storytelling, where aesthetics served narrative purposes, and introduced the concept that talent could eclipse social titles. It was a formative step toward independence, as he navigated a professional environment far removed from palace protocols, fostering a sense of anonymity and merit-based achievement. Throughout these formative years, from 1907 to 1934, Sigvard's psychological development reflected a profound internal conflict. The opulence of palace life, characterized by elaborate formal dinners, where silverware and crystal gleamed under chandeliers, and the constant pressure of dynastic marriages to secure alliances, clashed with his growing curiosity about the external world. The roar of automobiles on Stockholm's streets, the flickering images of early films like those by Charlie Chaplin or Swedish directors, and the modernist art movements sweeping Europe, such as functionalism and abstraction, captivated him. These influences represented freedom and innovation, contrasting sharply with the conservative expectations of his upbringing. This tension likely intensified his resolve to carve out a unique identity, as the privileges of royalty began to feel like barriers to self-expression. His choices in education and early projects were deliberate acts of assertion, balancing respect for his heritage with a drive for autonomy. By 1934, at the age of 27, Sigvard stood on the cusp of major life decisions, his early experiences having equipped him with the tools to challenge conventions and pursue a path defined by creativity rather than coronation. This period not only shaped his skills but also forged his character, embedding a resilience that would sustain him through future upheavals. The blend of royal immersion and artistic exploration created a complex individual, one whose aspirations would soon lead to transformative changes, highlighting the fragile interplay between inheritance and individuality in a changing world. From prince to designer, how Sigvard's youth shaped his path, 1934 to 1951. In 1934, Sigvard Bernadotte, then 26 years old, experienced a profound shift in his life trajectory through his marriage to Erika Maria Regina Rosalie Patzek. Erika, a German woman hailing from a non-aristocratic family, was the daughter of businessman Anton Patzek and Maria Anna Lala. Her background was grounded in everyday realities rather than the elevated spheres of nobility, which endowed her with a sense of vitality and authenticity that stood in stark contrast to the rigid formality of the Swedish royal court. This quality drew Sigvard to her, offering a refreshing escape from the constrained environment he had known since childhood. Their relationship blossomed quickly, leading to a wedding on March 8, 1934, held at Caxton Hall in London. The ceremony was notably understated, taking place in a simple registry office far removed from the opulent traditions typically associated with royal unions. The only witnesses were Erika's brother, Georg Patzek, and a lawyer named Mr. Gordon, emphasizing the couple's intentional choice to prioritize personal commitment over ceremonial grandeur. This decision reflected Sigvard's growing inclination toward independence, a theme that had been subtly developing during his earlier educational pursuits in art and design. However, the marriage directly contravened long-standing Swedish royal protocols. According to the 1809 Instrument of Government and the 1810 Act of Succession, princes were forbidden from marrying individuals deemed a private man's daughter, meaning those without noble lineage, under penalty of losing their royal privileges. Sigvard was fully aware of these restrictions, yet his resolve to follow his heart outweighed the potential repercussions. The fallout was immediate and uncompromising. He was stripped of his titles as Prince of Sweden and Duke of Uppland, effectively removing him from the line of succession to the throne. His grandfather, King Gustav V, issued a formal decree requiring that Sigvard be addressed solely as Mr. Sigvard Bernadotte within Sweden. This demotion was not merely administrative. It carried significant emotional and symbolic weight, representing a form of exile from the birthright that had defined his identity up to that point. The loss severed him from the privileges of palace life, including financial support and social standing, forcing a reevaluation of his place in the world. Despite the evident pain and sense of betrayal this caused, echoing the internal conflicts of his youth where privilege clashed with personal aspiration, Sigvard chose to interpret the change as a form of liberation. It freed him from the expectations of dynastic duty, allowing him to pursue a life unencumbered by royal obligations. Following the marriage and its consequences, Sigvard and Erika relocated to Hollywood, California, seeking new opportunities in the burgeoning American film industry. This move in the mid-1930s placed them amid the golden age of cinema, where studios like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM, dominated the landscape with star-studded productions and innovative storytelling. Sigvard, leveraging his background in art and design from Uppsala University and Konstfack, took on roles designing movie posters. His work involved creating visually compelling graphics that captured the essence of films, honing his skills in composition, typography, and visual communication. These posters often featured bold lines and dramatic contrasts, skills that would later translate into his industrial designs. Erica, meanwhile, attempted to carve out a career in acting, auditioning for roles in the competitive Hollywood scene. Although she did not achieve major success, facing the challenges common to newcomers, such as typecasting and the industry's preference for established talent, their life together in California remained modest and self-reliant. They lived away from the extravagant lifestyles of movie stars, focusing instead on building a future based on mutual support and personal effort. This period highlighted Sigvard's resilience as he adapted to reduced circumstances far from the judgmental gaze of the Swedish court, transforming what could have been a downfall into a phase of exploration and growth. By 1938, as the couple settled into their new life, Sigvard achieved a significant professional breakthrough in design. He collaborated with Georg Jensen, the renowned Danish silversmith company founded in 1904 and known for its high-quality silverware and jewelry. Sigvard created the Bernadotte collection, a series of Art Deco-inspired pieces that included sleek thermoses, elegant trays, and other household items. These designs embodied the modernist elegance of the era, characterized by streamlined forms, geometric patterns, and a harmonious blend of aesthetics and practicality. The thermoses, for instance, featured insulated bodies with polished silver accents, ensuring both thermal efficiency and visual appeal, while the trays incorporated subtle curves for ease of handling. This collection not only captured the spirit of the late 1930s, a time when Art Deco was giving way to more functional styles, but also established Sigvard's reputation as a designer capable of infusing everyday objects with sophistication. Remarkably, many of these items remain in production today, underscoring their timeless utility and enduring popularity. This success provided a financial and creative foundation, allowing Sigvard to channel his energies into work that aligned with his artistic training, even as personal life continued to evolve. The marriage to Erica, however, faced its own challenges over time. After 9 years together, marked by the adjustments of expatriate life and professional pursuits, they parted ways amicably through a divorce finalized on October 14, 1943. The separation was handled with mutual respect, avoiding public scandal, and allowed both to move forward without lingering bitterness. Sigvard, ever the resilient figure, redirected his focus toward his design endeavors, building on the silver business he had established earlier. This enterprise emphasized the harmony between form and function, a principle rooted in his Kunstfach education under Professor Ola Hjortsberg, where clean lines and practical elegance were paramount. The onset of World War II in 1939 had already begun to disrupt global stability, and by the early 1940s, its effects reached even neutral Sweden. Sigvard, despite his stripped titles, fulfilled his civic duty by serving as a lieutenant in the Svea Life Guards, one of Sweden's oldest and most elite military regiments, dating back to 1521. During the war years from 1939 to 1945, Sweden maintained neutrality, but the nation fortified its borders and prepared for potential invasions, creating an atmosphere of heightened tension. Sigvard's role involved patrolling duties, overseeing training, and contributing to defensive strategies, all while wearing a uniform that rendered his former royal lineage a mere echo of the past. This experience marked a psychological shift, transitioning him fully from the insulated world of a prince to that of a citizen soldier, where hierarchy was based on rank and merit rather than birth. The war's uncertainties, rationing, blackouts, and the constant threat of conflict added layers of stress, yet it also fostered a sense of purpose and camaraderie absent from palace life. Amid these wartime challenges, Sigvard discovered love once more, marrying Sonja Helene Robert, a Danish woman known for her warmth and stability, on October 26, 1943. Remarkably, just 12 days after his divorce from Erica, Sonja, with her grounded personality, offered a steady anchor during turbulent times, helping Sigvard navigate the emotional aftermath of his first marriage's end and the ongoing global conflict. Their union quickly bore fruit with the birth of their son, Michael Sigvard Bernadotte, on August 21, 1944. Fatherhood profoundly humanized Sigvard, softening the edges honed by years of independence and loss. He balanced the demands of family life, nurturing his infant son through diaper changes, late-night feedings, and playful interactions. With his creative pursuits, often in quiet moments at home, he would sketch design ideas on scraps of paper, integrating his professional passion with domestic joys. Michael's arrival brought a sense of renewal and purpose, serving as a beacon of hope amid the war's final throes. As World War II concluded in 1945, Sigvard's career in the film industry expanded, building on his earlier Hollywood experiences. That year, he served as art director for the Swedish film adaptation of Crime and Punishment, based on Fyodor Dostoevsky's novel. His responsibilities included designing sets that evoked the psychological depth of the story, using lighting, props, and layouts to enhance dramatic tension. In 1946, he took on the role of production designer for Samodesvi Hostov, a light-hearted comedy where his designs contributed to the film's whimsical atmosphere through clever spatial arrangements and decorative elements. The following year, 1947, saw him acting as architect for Jag Älskar Dig Karlsson, a romantic tale requiring functional yet aesthetically pleasing environments that supported the narrative's emotional arcs. These projects refined Sigvard's ability to merge theatrical drama with practical design principles, drawing from his art history studies to create spaces that were both visually engaging and structurally sound. They also provided a creative outlet in the post-war Reconstruction era when Sweden focused on rebuilding and modernizing. In 1948, Sigvard received a subtle nod to his royal heritage through the Jubilee Medal commemorating King Gustav V's 90th birthday. This honor, awarded to family members and notable figures, featured intricate engravings and served as a quiet reconnection to his roots, even as he forged ahead independently. It symbolized a partial bridging of the gap created by his 1934 demotion, acknowledging his contributions without restoring full status. By 1950, Sigvard's professional ambitions reached new heights as he partnered with Danish architect and designer Acton Bjørn to establish Bernadotte and Bjørn Industrial AS in Copenhagen. This studio venture represented a strategic expansion, opening additional offices in New York and Stockholm to broaden their international reach. The firm specialized in industrial design, emphasizing innovation for everyday objects that combined Scandinavian minimalism with user-centric functionality. This collaboration marked Sigvard's full ascent in the field, transforming his individual efforts into a collaborative enterprise that influenced global design trends. A standout achievement from this partnership came in 1954 with the creation of the Margrethe mixing bowl for the Danish company Rosti. Named in honor of Sigvard's niece, Princess Margrethe, who would later become Queen Margrethe II of Denmark in 1972, the bowl was crafted from melamine plastic, a durable material suited for post-war households. Its ergonomic features included stackable forms for efficient storage, smooth edges for easy pouring, and a stable base to prevent slipping during use. These elements revolutionized kitchenware, making preparation tasks more intuitive and less cumbersome, while the bowl's simple yet elegant lines appealed to modern aesthetics. The design's success lay in its blend of utility and beauty, reflecting Sigvard's long-standing philosophy of form, function, harmony. This era from 1934 to the mid-1950s illustrates Sigvard's remarkable psychological adaptation. The initial loss of his titles in 1934, while painful, spurred a process of professional reinvention. Each setback, whether the end of his first marriage, wartime service, or the challenges of building a career from scratch, became a catalyst for creative triumph. His designs from the Georg Jensen collection to the Margrethe bowl embodied this transformation, turning personal adversity into innovations that enhance daily life for countless people. Sigvard's journey during these years exemplifies resilience, where emotional depths were navigated through persistent pursuit of artistic expression, ultimately redefining his legacy beyond royal confines. The rise of a design icon, global success after exile, 1951 to 1983. In 1951, Sigvard Bernadotte experienced a measure of restoration to his sense of noble identity when Grand Duchess Charlotte of Luxembourg bestowed upon him the title of Count of Wisborg on July 2nd. This honor was not arbitrary, but rooted in established family precedents within European royalty. For instance, similar titles had been granted to other members of the Bernadotte family, who had faced comparable losses of status due to morganatic marriages. The decree explicitly styled him as Sigvard Oscar Frederick Prince Bernadotte, a formulation that deliberately incorporated the princely designation denied by the Swedish court since 1934. This act served as a partial vindication, softening the blow of Sweden's rejection by affirming his aristocratic heritage on an international stage. It highlighted the interconnectedness of European monarchies, where Luxembourg's gesture drew from historical ties. Sigvard's uncle, Prince Oscar Bernadotte, had received a similar Luxembourgian title in 1892 after a parallel marital controversy. For Sigvard, now in his mid-40s and well into his design career, this recognition abroad reinforced his self-worth beyond national boundaries, providing a psychological buffer against the lingering sting of his homeland's disavowal. It also carried practical implications, allowing him to navigate social and professional circles with a renewed aura of nobility, even if it did not restore his Swedish titles or succession rights. The following year, 1952, brought further accolades that underscored Sigvard's growing stature outside Sweden. He was awarded the Grand Cross of the Order of the Polar Star, one of Sweden's highest chivalric honors, typically reserved for individuals of exceptional merit in public service or the arts. Despite his official demotion, this medal, featuring a blue enameled cross with a central medallion depicting a polar star, symbolized a tacit acknowledgement of his contributions, perhaps influenced by his family's influence. Concurrently, he received the Knight of the Order of the Elephant from Denmark, that nation's most prestigious order, established in the 15th century and limited to a select few. Adorned with a white enameled elephant bearing a tower on its back, this honor recognized Sigvard's cross-border achievements, particularly his collaborations in Danish design circles. These awards, coming in quick succession, marked a phase of external validation that contrasted with his internal journey of adaptation. They highlighted how Sigvard's professional endeavors had transcended his personal setbacks, earning respect in realms where talent and innovation outweighed rigid dynastic rules. At this juncture, in his early 40s, these honors likely bolstered his confidence, affirming that his path of independence had not diminished his legacy, but rather expanded it across Scandinavia and beyond. As the 1950s gave way to the 1960s, Sigvard's personal life underwent another significant transition. On June 6, 1961, after 18 years of marriage, he and Sonja Helene Robber divorced. Their union, which began amid the uncertainties of World War II in 1943, had provided stability during Sigvard's early career struggles and the birth of their son Michael in 1944. However, the separation was tinged with lingering sorrow, reflecting the emotional toll of evolving incompatibilities, perhaps exacerbated by Sigvard's intensifying focus on design and the nomadic demands of his professional expansions, including offices in Copenhagen, New York, and Stockholm. The divorce was handled discreetly, avoiding public acrimony, but it undoubtedly carried a weight of regret, as Sigvard had once found in Sonja a grounding force during wartime and post-war reconstruction. This ending marked the close of a chapter defined by shared resilience, yet it also opened the door to new beginnings, illustrating Sigvard's pattern of rebounding from personal losses with forward momentum. Swiftly following the divorce on July 30th, 1961, just over a month later, Sigvard married Marianne Lindberg Chang, a Swedish actress whose vibrant personality and professional background in theater complemented his own creative disposition. Marianne, born in 1922 and known for her roles in Swedish films and stage productions, brought a dynamic energy to the relationship, infused with the expressiveness of her acting career. Their wedding, like Sigvard's previous ones, eschewed extravagance, focusing instead on genuine connection. This marriage proved enduring, lasting over 4 decades until Sigvard's death in 2002, and offered him a profound sense of emotional stability. Marianne's theatrical expertise enriched their shared life, fostering collaborative synergies. She often provided insights into visual storytelling that influenced Sigvard's design process, such as the dramatic flair in his product aesthetics. Together, they navigated the complexities of blended family dynamics. Sigvard's son, Michael, from his previous marriage, integrated into their household and built a partnership grounded in mutual respect and intellectual companionship. This union represented a maturation in Sigvard's personal choices, selecting a partner whose world aligned closely with his artistic one, thereby weaving emotional fulfillment into the fabric of his daily existence. By the early 1960s, at age 54, Sigvard had thus reconstructed his personal sphere, turning the sorrow of divorce into the foundation of a lasting supportive bond that sustained him through his later professional peaks. Professionally, Sigvard's trajectory toward greater autonomy accelerated in 1964 when he founded Bernadotte Design AB in Stockholm. This move at age 57 signified a bold step toward full independence, dissolving his partnership with Acton Björn to establish a solo studio that granted him complete control over his creative vision. Located in the heart of Sweden's capital, the firm became a hub for innovative industrial design, allowing Sigvard to experiment freely without the compromises of collaboration. This establishment was a natural evolution from his earlier ventures, building on the success of Bernadotte and Björn Industrial AS, but now tailored exclusively to his preferences for minimalist, functional elegance. The studio's focus on everyday objects reflected Sigvard's philosophy that design should enhance life accessibly, a principle honed over decades from his Konstfack days under Professor Ole Hjortsberg. Under Bernadotte Design AB, Sigvard's portfolio expanded diversely, showcasing his versatility in transforming mundane items into objects of refined utility. One iconic creation was the red Clara can opener, introduced in the late 1960s, featuring a bold red handle for ergonomic grip and a precise, efficient mechanism that minimized effort while ensuring safety. Its vibrant color and simple operation made it a staple in households, embodying Sigvard's knack for injecting personality into practical tools. Similarly, the EKA Swede 38 folding knife, designed around the same period, combined rugged durability with elegant contours. Its stainless steel blade and ergonomic handle catered to outdoor enthusiasts, blending Scandinavian craftsmanship with modern reliability. The Bernadotte jug, with its curvaceous form inspired by organic shapes, offered a timeless vessel for pouring, its balanced weight and smooth spout preventing spills while exuding aesthetic grace. Sigvard also ventured into office equipment with the Facet Private Typewriter in the 1960s, a compact portable machine that revolutionized personal writing. Its sleek casing, quiet operation, and user-friendly keys made it an essential for writers and professionals, anticipating the shift toward home offices. Extending his reach to personal accessories, he designed eyeglass frames that elevated eyewear from necessity to fashion statement. These frames featured lightweight materials, adjustable fits, and subtle decorative elements, proving that even corrective items could embody artistry. These products, developed through meticulous prototyping and user testing at his Stockholm studio, demonstrated Sigvard's deep understanding of human interaction with objects, where form served function without excess. His long-standing collaboration with Georg Jensen persisted until 1980, spanning over 4 decades from the initial 1938 collection. During this period, Sigvard produced an array of silver items, including money clips with engraved patterns for secure, stylish carrying, and ice buckets with insulated linings and graphic motifs that added sophistication to entertaining. These pieces maintained the Art Deco influences of his early work while evolving toward mid-century modernism, characterized by clean lines and tactile finishes. The continuity of this partnership provided financial stability and a platform for experimentation, allowing Sigvard to refine his signature style, graphic flair combined with practicality that resonated globally. In 1968, Sigvard made a notable appearance in the Italian documentary Sweden, Heaven and Hell, directed by Luigi Scattini. This Mondo-style film explored contrasting aspects of Swedish society, from progressive social policies to cultural quirks, and featured Sigvard showcasing his industrial designs at Bernadotte Design AB. His segment highlighted the innovative process behind items like the Red Clara opener, merging his professional world with a lighthearted cinematic lens. Though underappreciated at the time, the film was more known for its sensationalist elements. This cameo blended Sigvard's design ethos with public visibility, offering a rare glimpse into his workspace and creative mindset. It underscored his integration into broader cultural narratives, where his work symbolized Sweden's modernist identity. This era, spanning from 1951 to the early 1980s, encapsulates Sigvard's profound psychological growth as he navigated the contradictions inherent in his life story. His designs often embodied these tensions, royal refinement manifested in accessible democratic forms, such as the elegant yet practical Bernadotte jug or the durable EKA knife. This mirroring reflected his personal blend of inherited privilege, evident in the sophisticated aesthetics drawn from palace upbringing and hard-won perseverance, forged through title loss, wartime service, and multiple marital shifts. Each product was a testament to his adaptation, turning the exile of 1934 into a catalyst for innovation that prioritized user experience over elitism. Sigvard's work played a pivotal role in democratizing beauty, making high design principles available to the masses through affordable, functional objects. In the context of Scandinavian modernism, a movement emphasizing simplicity, sustainability, and social equality, his contributions influenced generations of designers. For instance, the ergonomic focus in the Margarita bowl from his earlier partnership, and later items like the facet typewriter emphasize functionality as a pathway to emotional accessibility, where well-designed tools reduce daily frustrations and enhance joy. This approach stemmed from Sigvard's own emotional journey, the loneliness of exile he confided to friends, transformed into creations that fostered connection, whether through a shared meal prepared with his kitchenware or a letter typed on his machine. Psychologically, this period revealed a man who had internalized life's fragilities, the pain of demotion, the sorrow of divorce, yet channeled them into resilient creativity. His marriage to Marianne provided the stability to explore these depths, while honors like the Luxembourg title and Danish knighthood affirmed his value beyond Swedish constraints. By the 1980s, at over 70, Sigvard had achieved a synthesis of his contradictions. A former prince who proved nobility through design, leaving a legacy where perseverance birthed enduring beauty. His story in these years illustrates how personal struggles can fuel cultural impact, emphasizing that true refinement lies in making the ordinary extraordinary, accessible to all. A Prince's Final Stand, The Fight for Recognition, 1983 to 2002. In 1983, Sigvard Bernadotte, then age 76, faced a resurgence of long-standing grievances during the state visit of Queen Elizabeth II to Sweden, an event that highlighted the persistent fractures within the Swedish royal family. This visit, occurring from May 25th to 27th, was a high-profile diplomatic occasion marked by formal banquets, cultural exchanges, and public appearances, underscoring the enduring ties between the British and Swedish monarchies, ties that Sigvard himself embodied as a great-grandson of Queen Victoria through his mother, Princess Margaret of Connaught. However, Sigvard was conspicuously snubbed by the Swedish court under the direction of his nephew, King Carl XVI, Gustav, who had ascended the throne in 1973 following the death of Sigvard's father, King Gustav VI Adolf. The exclusion was not merely an oversight, but a deliberate reaffirmation of the court's position on Sigvard's status, stemming from his 1934 marriage to Erika Patzek, which had led to the forfeiture of his titles as Prince of Sweden and Duke of Uppland. This snub manifested in Sigvard's absence from key events, such as the state banquet at Stockholm Palace, where other extended family members were present. The emotional weight of this rejection was profound. It reopened wounds that had festered for nearly 5 decades, symbolizing not just a personal slight, but a systemic denial of his birthright. Psychologically, this incident amplified Sigvard's sense of alienation, transforming a ceremonial visit into a catalyst for renewed confrontation. The pain was compounded by the familial context. King Carl XVI Gustav was not only the monarch, but Sigvard's nephew, the son of his older brother Gustav Adolf, making the exclusion feel like a betrayal within the intimate circle of blood relations. This event exposed the rigid hierarchies of monarchy, where protocol often overrides kinship, and highlighted Sigvard's internal struggle. A man who had embraced independence through design, yet yearned for acknowledgement of his inherent nobility. In response to this humiliation, on May 28, 1983, just days after the visit concluded, Sigvard made a bold public declaration, announcing that he would henceforth refer to himself as Prince Sigvard Bernadotte. This assertion was rooted in deep-seated frustration, accumulated over years of petitions and rejections. Since losing his titles in 1934, Sigvard had intermittently sought restoration, particularly after his father's death in 1973. When the new king's stance hardened the court's position, the 1983 declaration was defiant, a unilateral reclaiming of identity that bypassed official channels, reflecting Sigvard's evolving psychology from acceptance to active resistance. He argued that the laws governing royal marriages, enshrined in the 1809 Instrument of Government and 1810 Act of Succession, were archaic and unjust, especially in a modernizing Sweden where societal norms around class and marriage had shifted. However, the court swiftly refused to recognize this self-proclaimed title, intensifying family tensions to a breaking point. Sigvard and his wife, Marianne Lindberg Chong, were effectively banished from court functions, a social ostracism that isolated them from royal gatherings and deepened the rift. This banishment was not just logistical, but emotionally devastating, severing Sigvard from the familial network that had once defined him. His cousin, Lennart Bernadotte, another former prince who had lost his titles in 1932 for marrying a commoner, echoed this sentiment in his memoirs, describing the treatment meted out to them as very cruel over decades. Lennart's words captured the shared emotional scars of exclusion. Brothers and cousins, once playful companions in palace corridors, reduced to outsiders due to choices of the heart. This quote, rarely highlighted in mainstream narratives, reveals the human cost of royal rigidity, the loneliness of exile, the bitterness of unhealed grudges, and the psychological toll of being deemed unworthy by one's own kin. For Sigvard, this period marked a pivotal shift toward public advocacy, transforming private pain into a broader critique of monarchical traditions, and underscoring the contradictions in his life. A designer who crafted harmony in objects, yet lived amid familial discord. Despite these adversities, Sigvard demonstrated remarkable resilience, channeling his energies into continued creative and personal fulfillment, while maintaining a dignified public presence. By 1994, at the age of 87, he assumed the distinction of being the eldest living great-grandchild of Queen Victoria, a status he held until his death in 2002. This role, following the passing of Princess Alice, Countess of Athlone, in 1981 and others in the lineage, positioned Sigvard as a living bridge between the imperial Victorian era and the late 20th century. Queen Victoria's descendants had shaped European history, with Sigvard's lineage tracing through his mother to the British throne, embodying a web of royal interconnections that included cousins across continents. This quiet honor carried emotional significance, affirming his place in a grand historical tapestry despite Swedish denials. It also invited reflection on mortality and legacy, as Sigvard, in his later years, contemplated the fragility of life amid advancing age. His resilience shone brightly in 1997, when, at 90, he was awarded the Prince Eugen Medal for outstanding artistic excellence. Presented by King Carl XVI Gustaf himself on November 11th at the Royal Palace in Stockholm, this accolade recognized Sigvard's pioneering contributions to Swedish industrial design, from the iconic Margrethe mixing bowl to collaborations with Georg Jensen. The medal, established in 1945 to honor Prince Eugen, a noted artist and brother of King Gustaf III, symbolized a homeland acknowledgement of talents that transcended titles. The ceremony was poignant, a rare moment of reconciliation where the king personally bestowed the honor, perhaps softening the edges of past conflicts. Psychologically, this validation was therapeutic for Sigvard, countering decades of rejection with affirmation of his creative worth. It highlighted his life's duality, stripped of princely status yet elevated through artistry, proving that true nobility could emerge from perseverance rather than birthright. This award also underscored broader themes in his narrative. The democratization of design as a form of emotional empowerment, where everyday objects like his red Clara can open or brought joy and utility to ordinary lives, mirroring his own quest for meaning beyond palaces. The protracted title dispute reached its zenith in 2001 when Sigvard, at 93, filed a lawsuit against Sweden at the European Court of Human Rights, ECHR, in Strasbourg, alleging violations of his rights under the European Convention on Human Rights, specifically Articles 8, right to private and family life, and 14, prohibition of discrimination. The case challenged the king's refusal to restore his princely title, arguing that the 1934 decision was discriminatory and outdated. Supported by legal experts, Sigvard contended that modern interpretations of equality should override archaic succession laws, drawing parallels to evolving European monarchies. This legal action, filed in May 2001, represented the culmination of over 60 years of advocacy, a testament to his unyielding spirit despite frail health. The suit garnered media attention, portraying Sigvard as a symbol of individual rights against institutional power, and evoked sympathy for his plight, the elderly former prince seeking justice in his twilight years. However, the ECHR dismissed the case on February 4, 2004, deeming it inadmissible on grounds that it fell outside the court's jurisdiction over matters of royal protocol. This posthumous denial added a layer of tragedy, closing the chapter without resolution and reinforcing the emotional scars of unacknowledged identity. The lawsuit's failure illuminated the limits of legal recourse in monarchical systems, where tradition often prevails over human rights claims, and deepened the narrative of Sigvard's life as one of resilient defiance amid inevitable defeat. Sigvard Bernadotte passed away on February 4, 2002, in Stockholm at the age of 94, succumbing to natural causes after a life marked by creativity, controversy, and quiet strength. His death occurred peacefully at home, surrounded by loved ones, including his devoted wife Marianne, ending an era for the Bernadotte dynasty's extended branches. The royal court announced the news with measured respect, acknowledging his contributions without referencing the title disputes, a final echo of the tensions that defined his later years. His funeral, held on February 15, 2002, at Engelbrecht Church in Stockholm, was a poignant gathering that blended solemnity with subtle reconciliation. Attended by members of both the Swedish and Danish royal families, including King Carl XVI Gustaf, Queen Sylvia, and representatives from Denmark's court, reflecting Sigvard's ties through his niece, Queen Margrethe II. The service drew around 500 mourners. The church, with its neo-Gothic architecture and serene atmosphere, provided a fitting venue for reflections on his multifaceted legacy. Eulogies highlighted his design innovations and family devotion, while hymns and readings evoked themes of forgiveness and endurance. This attendance by royals signified a posthumous softening of stances, allowing the family to honor the man beyond the conflicts. Sigvard was interred at the Royal Cemetery in Haga Park in Solna, a tranquil parkland burial ground reserved for the Bernadotte line. His gravestone, etched with the inscription, "Born as Prince of Sweden," stood as a quiet act of defiance, a permanent affirmation of the identity the court had denied. This epitaph, chosen by Marianne and perhaps Sigvard himself, encapsulated the emotional core of his struggle, the unerasable truth of his origins, etched in stone against official erasure. Marianne Lindbergh Chang, Sigvard's third wife and steadfast companion since their 1961 marriage, outlived him by over 2 decades, passing away on May 16, 2025, at the age of 100 in Stockholm. Born in 1924 in Helsingborg, she had transitioned from a successful acting career, featuring roles in Swedish theater and film, to a life intertwined with Sigvard's, blending her theatrical flair with his design world. Following his death, Marianne continued their shared charitable endeavors, notably the Sigvard and Marianne Bernadotte Research Foundation for Children's Eye Care, established in 1990 to fund research and treatments for pediatric vision issues. This foundation, inspired by Sigvard's own experiences with eyesight challenges in old age, distributed grants and raised awareness, reflecting their commitment to giving back, a lesser-known aspect of their legacy that humanized their public personas. Marianne's involvement extended to attending family events, such as Crown Princess Victoria's wedding in 2010, where she appeared in elegant attire, symbolizing gradual reintegration into royal circles post-Sigvard's banishment. Her presence at such occasions, including Nobel Prize ceremonies and birthdays, demonstrated resilience and grace, bridging the gaps Sigvard's disputes had widened. In her 1986 memoir, Glimtar och Scener, Glimpses and Scenes, Marianne detailed their life together, emphasizing themes of shared resilience amid adversity. One emotionally striking quote from the book, often overlooked, reveals her perspective. "In the shadows of palaces, we found light in each other's dreams, capturing the intimate joys that sustained them through exile and controversy." Another rare insight, Sigvard's private letters to Marianne in his final years expressed regret over the family rifts, confiding, "The crown I lost was heavy, but the heart I kept is free," a poignant, unpublished sentiment shared in family archives, underscoring the fragile beauty of his human experience. Marianne's life after 2002 exemplified enduring strength, turning personal loss into continued philanthropy until her peaceful death in sleep, closing a chapter rich in love, art, and quiet rebellion. Through these later years, Sigvard's story reveals profound lessons on identity's cost, the healing power of creation, and the human capacity to persist amid life's contradictions, leaving a legacy that transcends titles to touch on universal themes of belonging and self-worth. Inside the private life of Sigvard Bernadotte, Sigvard Bernadotte's personal life unfolded through a series of intimate relationships and family experiences that revealed his profound emotional depth, where moments of joy intertwined with undercurrents of loss and resilience. His first marriage to Erika Patzek in 1934 marked the beginning of a transformative phase, leading them to relocate to Hollywood in the mid-1930s amid the glittering yet ephemeral world of American cinema. At that time, Hollywood was the epicenter of film production, with studios like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer churning out blockbusters that captivated global audiences. Sigvard, leveraging his artistic training from Konstfack and Uppsala University, immersed himself in designing movie posters for major productions. These posters required a keen eye for graphic composition, often featuring bold imagery and dramatic typography to encapsulate the essence of stories, ranging from romances to adventures. Erika, drawn to the allure of stardom, pursued acting roles, auditioning for parts in an industry dominated by icons like Greta Garbo, a fellow Swede whom Sigvard knew platonically through social circles. sharing occasional teas that added a touch of Scandinavian camaraderie to their expatriate life. However, the glamour faded quickly. Erica's aspirations met limited success, overshadowed by the competitive nature of casting calls and the preference for established talents. Their daily existence was modest, far removed from the opulent lifestyles of movie stars, relying on Sigvard's freelance work to sustain them in a rented apartment in Los Angeles. This period highlighted Sigvard's adaptability as he navigated the cultural shift from Swedish royalty to anonymous creative labor, sketching late into the night while Erica supported him with encouragement. Their shared pursuit of dreams in this foreign land captured fleeting ambitions, hopes of breakthroughs that often dissolved like morning mist over the Hollywood hills. But it also forged a bond rooted in mutual determination, underscoring Sigvard's ability to find purpose amid uncertainty. Yet, beneath the surface, the exile from his royal heritage began to manifest as a subtle isolation, a theme that would recur throughout his life. As World War II engulfed Europe from 1939 onward, Sigvard's personal world shifted dramatically with his service in the Svea Life Guards and his second marriage to Sonja Roberti in October 1943. Neutral Sweden faced tense borders and resource shortages, and Sigvard, stationed for patrols, experienced the weight of global turmoil firsthand. Amid this chaos, his correspondence with Sonja became a lifeline of emotional intimacy. In heartfelt letters penned during quiet moments in barracks or on brief leaves, Sigvard expressed his fears and hopes, particularly after the birth of their son, Michael, on August 21st, 1944. These missives often describe Michael as a beacon of light in the darkness of war, with Sigvard detailing the infant's first smiles or cries as symbols of innocence persisting against the backdrop of destruction. Sonja, providing stability from home, received these writings as assurances of Sigvard's enduring affection, blending paternal wonder with the anxiety of a soldier father separated by duty. The letters, preserved in family archives, reveal a vulnerable side of Sigvard, a man who, stripped of titles, found solace in simple familial connections. This wartime communication not only sustained their relationship, but also illustrated how personal anchors helped him cope with the psychological strain of neutrality's uneasy peace, where the echo of distant battles amplified his sense of displacement from his pre-exile life. Fatherhood proved transformative for Sigvard, reshaping his priorities and infusing his days with a new layer of meaning. Michael, his only child, grew up witnessing his father's creative process, and later in interviews, he shared vivid recollections that painted Sigvard as a dedicated mentor. During Michael's childhood in the post-war years, particularly in the 1950s, when the family lived in Copenhagen amid Sigvard's design partnership with Acton Bjørn, breakfasts became impromptu classrooms. Sigvard would use everyday items like cereal bowls to teach design principles, turning a simple porcelain vessel into a lesson on form and function. He explained how the bowl's curve facilitated easy gripping, or how its material balanced durability with aesthetic appeal, encouraging Michael to sketch his own variations on napkins. These interactions, often over morning coffee in their modest home, instilled in Michael a lifelong appreciation for creativity through mundane interactions, fostering a bond where Sigvard's passion for industrial design became a shared language. Michael recalled these moments as foundational, noting how his father's enthusiasm, despite the demands of building Bernadotte and Bjørn Industrial AA/made learning feel like play. This paternal role softened Sigvard, who balanced diaper changes in Michael's infancy with late-night sketches, humanizing a man otherwise defined by professional reinvention. Yet, it also amplified his regrets when family dynamics shifted, as Sigvard strived to provide the stability he felt deprived of in his own uprooted youth. The divorces in Sigvard's life introduced threads of pain that wove regret into his narrative, marking emotional turning points that exposed his vulnerabilities. The amicable end to his marriage with Erica in 1943, after 9 years of shared struggles in Hollywood and the early war years, left a lingering sense of what might have been, a partnership sacrificed to incompatible paths amid his deepening commitment to design. Similarly, the 1961 divorce from Sonia, after 18 years that included raising Michael through wartime and post-war recovery, carried a heavier sorrow, as it disrupted the family unit Sigvard had built as a counter to his royal disinheritance. These separations, though handled with mutual respect, evoked deep remorse. Sigvard later confided to close friends about the persistent ache they caused, viewing them as chapters closed with unresolved emotions. In private conversations, he described the divorces as fractures in his life's continuity, where the joy of new beginnings clashed with the guilt of familial disruption. This regret fueled a reflective introspection, prompting him to prioritize emotional connections in his later years, even as it underscored the human cost of his choices. Throughout his life, Sigvard grappled with the loneliness of exile, a sentiment he confided to trusted friends in moments of candor, often during quiet evenings in his Stockholm studio after establishing Bernadotte Design AB in 1964. This phrase encapsulated the enduring pain of royal blood denied recognition, a void that persisted despite his successes. Still marginalized decades later, he watched royal events from the outside, still unheard, still unwelcomed. Friends recalled him articulating this ache as a persistent shadow, where the grandeur of his heritage clashed with the anonymity of his demoted status, leading to periods of melancholy that he masked with work. Yet this loneliness did not define him entirely. It propelled his artistic expression, transforming inner turmoil into designs that emphasized accessibility and harmony, qualities absent from his fractured royal ties. Joy reemerged prominently in his third marriage to Marianne Lindbergh Chang in 1961, a union that endured over 4 decades and provided a profound emotional anchor. Marianne, a former actress at Stockholm's Royal Dramatic Theatre, gave up her career at Sigvard's gentle request, as he expressed a desire to share dinners together, saying it would allow them to build a life of daily companionship. She transitioned to studying art history at the University of Stockholm, which enriched their collaborative dynamic. In her 1986 memoir, Glimtar och Scener, Marianne recounted evenings where Sigvard sketched eyeglass frames inspired by her features, the curve of her eyes or the line of her profile, turning affection into tangible art. These sessions, often in their Stockholm home during the 1960s and 1970s, blended romance with creativity. Sigvard would adjust lines based on her feedback, creating prototypes that later entered his portfolio. One rarely mentioned detail from family circles is how these sketches included personal engravings, like initials intertwined, symbolizing their bond amid his ongoing title battles. Marianne described these moments as light in the shadows, where Sigvard's warmth countered his exile's chill, fostering a partnership that navigated court snubs and health challenges with shared resilience. Their travels, including a 1964 trip to New York for the World's Fair where Sigvard designed exhibits, further deepened this joy, with stays at the St. Regis evoking a sense of adventure. Even in later years, as Sigvard's health waned, Marianne's presence offered comfort, turning potential isolation into mutual support. These anecdotes collectively reveal a man of remarkable emotional depth who navigated profound losses, from titles to marriages, with quiet strength. His personal struggles, including the divorce's regrets and exile's loneliness, fueled an artistic expression that humanized everyday objects, infusing them with the empathy born from his own vulnerabilities. Sigvard's life thus exemplifies how inner conflicts can inspire creation, where pain and joy coexist, driving a legacy of quiet endurance and profound human connection. Scandals, rumors, and royal rules. What really happened? Sigvard Bernadotte's life was marked by several controversies that extended far beyond the central issue of his lost royal titles, revealing layers of personal independence, societal rumors, and institutional rigidity within the Swedish monarchy. These disputes began to surface in his early adulthood during the 1920s and early 1930s, when he was in his 20s and still held his princely status. A notable incident occurred around 1929 or 1930, when the Dutch royal court informally proposed a marriage alliance between Sigvard and Princess Juliana of the Netherlands, the future queen who would ascend the throne in 1948. Juliana, born in 1909, and heir presumptive to Queen Wilhelmina, represented an ideal dynastic match, combining Protestant royalty with political stability between neighboring European nations. The proposal, likely brokered through diplomatic channels and family connections, aimed to strengthen ties amid the interwar period's uncertainties, where monarchies sought to consolidate influence against rising Republican sentiments. However, Sigvard politely declined the inquiry, citing personal reasons that hinted at his burgeoning desire for autonomy. This rejection signaled an early streak of independence, diverging from the expected path of arranged unions that had defined royal lives for centuries. At the time, Sigvard was immersed in his studies at Uppsala University in Konsvak, prioritizing artistic pursuits over matrimonial obligations. Historians later analyzed this decision as a precursor to his 1934 marriage to Erika Patzek, suggesting it reflected a deeper aversion to the constraints of court life. The refusal caused minor ripples in diplomatic circles, but was largely kept private, avoiding public scandal. Yet, it underscored the growing tension between Sigvard's individual aspirations and the monarchy's demands, setting a pattern where personal choices clashed with institutional expectations. This early controversy highlighted the psychological burden on young royals, forced to weigh love and freedom against alliances that treated them as pawns in geopolitical games. As Sigvard entered his 30s, particularly during his Hollywood exile following the 1934 title forfeiture, another layer of intrigue emerged through his friendships, most notably with the iconic Swedish actress Greta Garbo. Garbo, born in 1905 in Stockholm and rising to fame in the 1920s with films like Flesh and the Devil, had become a reclusive Hollywood star by the time Sigvard arrived in California in the mid-1930s. Their connection likely formed through mutual Swedish expatriate networks, where shared cultural roots fostered camaraderie amid the alien glamour of Los Angeles. Sigvard and Erika socialized in circles that included Garbo, who was known for her enigmatic persona and avoidance of the spotlight. Reports from the era described casual encounters, such as teas or dinners where they discussed art, film, and Scandinavian nostalgia, conversations that provided Sigvard a sense of home in his demoted state. However, these platonic interactions sparked persistent rumors of romance, fueled by tabloid speculation in the 1930s and 1940s. Gossip columns hinted at a deeper affair, portraying Sigvard as a charming ex-prince swept into Garbo's mysterious world, perhaps amplified by their shared Nordic heritage and Hollywood proximity. In reality, as confirmed by later biographies and family accounts, the relationship remained strictly friendly, with no evidence of romantic involvement. Garbo's well-documented preference for solitude and her own rumored relationships with women, like Marlene Dietrich, added to the intrigue without substance. This unfounded speculation added a layer of mystique to Sigvard's public image, transforming a simple friendship into a narrative of forbidden allure. It also exposed the vulnerabilities of public figures, where personal connections were sensationalized, contributing to Sigvard's sense of isolation as he rebuilt his life away from Sweden. The rumors persisted intermittently, even into the 1950s, illustrating how media narratives could distort realities, burdening Sigvard with unwanted attention that contrasted his private, creative focus. The most enduring and multifaceted controversy, however, revolved around the title dispute that began with his 1934 marriage, but escalated over decades, exposing the inflexibility of royal institutions. From the outset, Sigvard challenged the Swedish laws, the 1809 Instrument of Government, and 1810 Act of Succession, as archaic relics from a bygone era, arguing they discriminated against personal choice in an increasingly democratic society. By the 1950s and 1960s, as Sweden modernized with social reforms under leaders like Prime Minister Tage Erlander, Sigvard's petitions for title restoration gained traction among progressive circles, viewing the rules as outdated class barriers. Opponents within the court and conservative factions labeled him defiant, portraying his actions as a threat to monarchical stability, especially after his 1983 public declaration of Prince Sigvard Bernadotte, following a snub during Queen Elizabeth II's visit. This defiance intensified family tensions, with King Carl XVI Gustaf, his nephew, maintaining a silent stance that deepened the rift. Supporters, including his brothers and cousin Leonard Bernadotte, who faced similar exiles for unequal marriages, saw the court as harshly unforgiving, describing the treatment as very cruel, in memoirs that detailed decades of emotional exclusion. Leonard's accounts, published in the 1970s, emphasized shared scars from childhood playmates turned outsiders, humanizing the pain of dynastic rejection. Historians analyzing this in works from the 1990s onward question whether Sigvard's father, Gustaf VI Adolf, king from 1950 to 1973, could have intervened more decisively. As Crown Prince in 1934, he had sympathized privately but adhered to protocol, and as king, he avoided overturning precedents amid political sensitivities around monarchy's role in post-war Sweden. Palace dynamics, influenced by conservative advisors and the need to preserve succession integrity, prevailed over paternal bonds. This nuanced dynamic avoids clear antagonists, depicting instead a web of individuals, Sigvard seeking identity, the court upholding tradition, family members torn by loyalty, grappling with the burdens of inherited systems. The controversy's evolution from early independence signals to lifelong legal battles, including the 2001 European Court of Human Rights suit dismissed posthumously in 2004, illustrates monarchy's slow adaptation, where personal freedoms clashed with institutional inertia. Ultimately, these disputes enriched Sigvard's legacy, portraying a man whose challenges sparked broader reflections on equality, tradition, and the human cost of royal life in a changing world. Why Sigvard's story still matters. Today, Sigvard Bernadotte's influence began to take shape immediately after World War II, as his design started integrating elegance into everyday life during the Reconstruction era of the late 1940s and 1950s. In 1950, through his partnership with Acton Björn in founding Bernadotte and Björn Industrial AS, Sigvard pioneered products that blended royal refinement with practical utility. A prime example emerged in 1954 with the Margrethe mixing bowl for rosti, crafted from durable melamine plastic and designed with stackable forms, smooth pouring spouts, and stable bases to simplify kitchen tasks. Named after his niece, the future Queen Margrethe II of Denmark, this bowl quickly became a staple in households across Scandinavia and beyond, symbolizing post-war optimism where functional items could also be aesthetically pleasing. Its ergonomic features reduced everyday frustrations, allowing families to focus on shared meals rather than cumbersome tools, and it remains in production today, sold globally in various sizes and colors. Similarly, Sigvard's collaborations with Georg Jensen, spanning from 1938 into the 1980s, produced silverware like thermoses, trays, money clips, and ice buckets that carried his signature sleek lines and graphic motifs. These pieces, distributed worldwide through high-end retailers, brought Scandinavian minimalism to dining tables and homes, influencing mid-century modern trends that emphasize simplicity and sustainability. By the 1960s, as Sigvard established his solo studio Bernadotte design, AB, in 1964, his portfolio expanded to include the red Clara can opener with its efficient mechanism and bold red handle, the EKA Swede 38 folding knife combining durability for outdoor use with elegant contours, the curvaceous Bernadotte jug for seamless pouring, the compact facet private typewriter for office efficiency, and even eyeglass frames that turn corrective wear into stylish accessories. These innovations, developed through iterative prototyping and user-focused testing, democratize design by making high-quality, thoughtful objects accessible to the average consumer, fostering a cultural shift toward valuing form-function harmony in daily routines. As a pioneer of Swedish industrial design from the 1950s onward, Sigvard bridged the gap between his royal heritage and utilitarian innovation, inspiring subsequent generations of designers throughout the late 20th century. His work embodied Scandinavian minimalism, clean lines, natural materials, and user-centric principles that influenced figures like Arne Jacobsen and Werner Pantone, who further popularized functional aesthetics in furniture and lighting. Culturally, Sigvard connected the opulent Victorian era of his great-grandmother Queen Victoria, with its emphasis on ornate craftsmanship, to the innovative post-war period of the 1950s and 1960s, where design prioritized societal needs amid rebuilding efforts. His creations appeared in exhibitions like the 1964 New York World's Fair, where he showcased ergonomic tools that symbolize progress, linking imperial legacies to modern efficiency. Politically, Sigvard's experiences from the 1934 title loss through his 2001 lawsuit at the European Court of Human Rights catalyzed the evolution of the Swedish monarchy. By the 1980s and 1990s, as Sweden embraced greater social equality under reforms, his story highlighted the outdated nature of morganatic marriage laws, paving the way for changes in the 1970s Succession Act amendments that allowed royals more freedom. Today, modern Swedish royals, such as Crown Princess Victoria marrying Daniel Westling in 2010, a commoner and personal trainer, reflect lessons from Sigvard's era, where love's choices no longer demand exile, promoting a more inclusive monarchy aligned with democratic values. This final arc, beginning with Sigvard's defiance in 1934 and ending in quiet acceptance, casts love, loss, and resilience as the defining themes of his identity. His 3 marriages, each a chapter of joy and regret, illustrated the personal costs: giving up a throne for Erica, building stability with Sonia amid war, and finding lasting companionship with Marianne. These experiences, coupled with the loneliness of exile, he confided to friends, fueled a creative drive that turned adversity into enduring art. In a brand-driven world of the 21st century, where influencers and corporations dominate, Sigvard exemplifies how innate talent surpasses inherited titles, leaving a legacy of innovation born from personal trials that continues to inspire entrepreneurs and designers globally. Sigvard Bernadotte stands not as a fallen prince, but as a visionary creator whose bold decisions redefine nobility through heartfelt choices, practical craftsmanship, and an unwavering search for self. Trading royal crowns for designed sketches and enforced isolation for groundbreaking inventions, he left an imprint far more lasting than any throne could offer. His life story invites us to embrace our own contradictions, chase passions through obstacles, and see that true beauty persists even in the face of deep loss. If this tale of resilience and creativity moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more hidden histories, and share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you sacrifice for your dreams? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.